How's it going, everyone? Welcome to my channel. My name is Swanee, and today I want to talk to you about Doom: The Dark Ages. Now, I got my review code a little bit later than some of the other content creators, which is why this is going out a bit late, but I have a lot going on this weekend leading into next week in my personal life, so I didn't have time to do a real in-depth review for this game, but I still wanted to talk about it real quick and go over all the things that I liked and a couple of the things that I didn't like as much. Now, if you're watching this, I'm assuming you know a little bit about the Doom franchise, and if you don't, well, you don't need to know too much about the lore. You're basically just this badass super soldier known as the Doomslayer, and you kill a ton of demons. And that's kind of all you need to know. Doom is very easy to follow, and it's a game that's pretty easy to pick up if you've never played a Doom game before. So if you're new to the franchise and this looks like a game that you might be interested in, I think this is one that you could pick up pretty easily and still have a good idea as to what's going on. Now, Doom: The Dark Ages is the third installment in the latest Doom reboot, following Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal in 2020, and if you're a fan of those previous games, then I think you're going to love this game as well. But if you're a fan of one, first-person shooters, and two, just turning your brain off and mindlessly killing things while wielding a shield that makes you feel like Captain America, then I'm pretty sure you're going to love Doom: The Dark Ages. Now, I knew as soon as this game was announced and they showed off the shield, I was going to love this game, and to me, I personally like this the most out of all three of the latest Doom games. I like it better than both Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal, even though this one has a few issues that bug me a little bit that I'm going to talk about later. Overall, I found that the gameplay is super fun and very rewarding. And I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I'm just in the mood to mindlessly shoot shit. Maybe I have 20 minutes to waste, or I'm just bored on a Saturday night and I have nothing to do, and I'm in the mood for a first-person shooter, but I don't want to get invested into something like, I don't know, Destiny 2 because it's too much of a massive grind. I don't really want to play a PvP game because they're super sweaty and full of hackers nowadays. And Doom: The Dark Ages is a perfect game to fill that gap for me. This game is great to just load up, turn your brain off, and kill shit. There's 22 different levels that you can replay over and over again with pretty forgiving checkpoints if you need to like pause your game and come back later. It's got a ton of hidden secrets and upgrades to find. It's got a huge variety of weapons that you can unlock, each coming with 2 different variations of the weapon, and each of them has multiple upgrades. And then most importantly, and what I think is the most fun, is the shield. The entirety of Doom: The Dark Ages combat was built around the shield. So the combat plays out a little bit differently than the previous Dooms because in this one, they want you to stand your ground and fight. They want you to constantly use your shield to block, parry special attacks from the larger enemy types, and of course throw it at your enemies to stun them. And this can lead to some pretty crazy encounters. There were so many times when I was playing this where after I completed a section and I killed off all the enemies, I stopped and thought, damn, that was so badass. I can't believe I pulled that off. There's just so many instances where you're running and shooting and punching enemies in the face, then you throw your shield and it lodges into a larger enemy, stunning them in place, then you recall it, throw it into a large crowd, killing all of them, then you recall it again, and then you shield bash into another group of enemies, taking them all out from just the sheer force of the impact. And it's so much fun. This game does a great job of making you feel both insanely overpowered, yet it throws so many enemies at you, varying in different sizes and strengths, that the game still feels pretty well balanced. There's tons of boss fights, there's giant mech fights, hell, you can even ride a dragon, although more on the dragon here in a little bit. I honestly haven't had this much fun with a first-person shooter in a long time. It reminded me of the late 2000s/2010 era of gaming, where you could just get a straightforward single-player campaign that had mission selection, tons of replayability, no microtransactions or battle passes or any of that BS. It honestly took me back to the good old Halo 3 days, which was nice. But that doesn't mean that it's perfect. There are a few small gripes that I have with the game that I want to mention that don't really hurt my overall opinion all that much, but I still feel are worth mentioning and bringing up here in this review. The first issue I have is with the dragon. The dragon looks really cool and badass, don't get me wrong, but I feel like the dragon was just slapped on last minute because the controls for the dragon are just weird and not all that fun. When you're flying the dragon, you have the option of just flying really fast and spamming your minigun, and you can't breathe fire or do any special moves, and when you try to lock onto a target, it completely changes the controls and makes you just hover in place. Then you have to play this dodging minigame where you have to perfectly dodge an attack to be able to damage the target that you're fighting. So the dragon's not bad, it's just not all that exciting or well thought out, and I wish there was just more that you could do with the few times that you get to ride the dragon. Another issue that I have with the game is the lack of kill animations. In the previous Dooms, they had this thing called glory kills, where when an enemy was weak, you could execute them and you'd get this cool little kill animation every time you did it. Now, I know this is subjective, and a lot of people didn't like that feature in the past game, because it did get repetitive when you did it over and over and over again. Like, you can tell why they got rid of the kill animations when you play this for yourself. The way that the combat flows, just stopping to do a kill animation every couple seconds would definitely slow things down too much, but I just wish that there was a slider or a button that you could toggle on and off in the settings to decide if you wanted more or less kill animations. Maybe that's something they could do in future Dooms. And that's not to say that there isn't any kill animations at all in the game, like they still happen every so often, but they're pretty rare, and I always got super excited every time I saw one just because of how little you actually get to see them. So I just wish that there was a couple more kill animations in the game, other than just seeing the Doomslayer's foot go out every couple seconds. You just basically are kicking enemies over and over and over, or bashing them with your melee weapon. And so because there just isn't very many kill variations compared to the previous game, you can definitely tell a big difference, and it feels like it's lacking in that regard. The only other issue I have, which isn't a big deal, but I can tell that this game is a lot easier compared to the previous ones. Them giving you a shield in this game leads to you just blocking and absorbing most of the attacks thrown at you. Once you master the timing of the block and the parry, as long as you stay aggressive, you're pretty hard to kill. Now, this game does have a ton of difficulty settings, and there's different difficulty sliders to make it easier or harder, which I appreciate. It's got a ton of accessibility settings where you can slow things down, like you can slow down the whole speed of the game, or you can make it way faster. That way, new players can make it easier, or maybe you're a young kid or someone with a disability, you can slow down the pace tremendously. Or if you're a veteran player, you can really make it super hard for yourself and just make the parry window a lot smaller and make the enemies a lot more aggressive. But I'd say just in general, the game does feel a bit easier when compared to those previous games due to the shield being able to block so much damage. And outside of those three little gripes, I don't have anything else bad to say about the game at all. I honestly think this game is a must play. If you like the Doom franchise, or first-person shooters, or just easy-going games where you don't have to think much, then this game is for you. And with video game prices going up more and more, I understand that a lot of you are probably being a bit more picky with what games you decide to buy, and 2025 is already off to a great start with some real bangers like the Oblivion remake, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Expedition 33, Monster Hunter Wilds, and more. I think Doom the Dark Ages is definitely a Game of the Year contender in my opinion, and I would be willing to pay full price for this game if I didn't get a review code. Luckily, it's going to be in Game Pass though, so you could potentially save some money there if you have Game Pass. But if you were on the fence about this one, it definitely has my recommendation, and I don't think you're going to regret it. So with that said, that's my quick thoughts on Doom the Dark Ages. I think it's great. I think it's a must play. And if I had to score this game out of 10, I think I'm sitting at like an 8.5 to a 9 out of 10. I've only played through the story mode once, so I've not yet gone back and replayed it with like all the weapons fully upgraded. So I think depending on how much fun the game is, once you have all those upgrades and you go for like a second playthrough, that could add or take away from my overall score. But based off of just one playthrough, I'm sitting at like an 8.5 or a 9. But id Software has been really knocking it out of the park with these Doom games, so you can tell that they just listen to the feedback from the player base and they just keep making more and more improvements with each new installment. But that is going to do it for everything in today's video. If you enjoyed it, then please consider giving me a thumbs up. It's greatly appreciated and it helps me out in the algorithm. Subscribe if you're new here, that way you don't miss out on any future videos. And that is going to do it for me, and I'll catch you all in the next video.